Do women really want equality in a relationship? Do men really want equality in a relationship? Can you have a relationship with two heads? Do you need one person to submit, concede, or acquiesce to the other? Can a man share power equally? Can a woman share power equally? All wars have been started by men, so can't blame women for you know, what they would do with power. Who is more likely to abuse power? I'm not sure how many women really do want equality in everything. Obviously, they want equal pay for equal work. Outside of single parent households, if there is a burglar in the house, who is going to get the door? If the family's life is being threatened, who is expected to first sacrifice his life? Who is expected to propose in marriage? Who is expected to financially anchor the family? Who is expected to buy the other gifts? Who is expected to make investments and sacrifices for the family? Some women want the man to be the dominant one in the relationship. Some women think a man is weak or they'll fight endlessly to have control in a relationship if she thinks the man is not showing dominant characteristics that she wants to see. Constantly there is a fight or an enemy viewpoint from the woman's perspective when many men just want a companion, a friend, someone who reciprocates and shows with efforts that she is invested into building and nurturing a relationship as people in love and not as a business for profit. What has to be discussed is what or which chivalries will be kept and which are considered offensive and crossing the line. Confusing thing with relationships now are the goals, the expectations, and what each other bring to a relationship. One aspect is this, man. Men know what they want. Men know they want women. Men try a multitude of things to attract a woman. Men try talking with women. Men initiate conversation. Men try to be funny. Men work better jobs, clothes. We get cars to impress women. We exercise and cater to women to try and not only attract women, but to socialize with women. We try to study how to socialize with them. The thing that is crucially different is this. Many women learn men are the enemy. Many women are taught that girls are born independent, free thinkers until they are forced by men to defer to men. Now, that pissed me off too. Some women envy violent men because of their display of strength. Some women hate their inferior physical nature compared to men, and in so hating it, they hate it more that it is a power they don't have and they want. Women learn the physical limitations that they have with men and do not like it, and also do not like how men have used their dominant physical strengths against women. Women learn that men pay them less. Women learn and experience men absent as fathers or husbands from growing up in a single family household where perhaps, at times, the mother expresses her frustration with men to her daughters. Some of these women also in return internalize this and then reaffirm or confirm this when they have their own experiences with men. This makes many women have a caution or complex against men that men don't have with women. This helps increase the gaps of communication between men and women because one is seeing the other as a potential threat, an enemy, while the other is seeking love, lust, or companionship. The ironic thing is, due to what these women are cautious of, you would think that they would be interested in highly valued men they feel comfortable with, protected by, and can trust that are also friendly. However, to many of men's eyes, we see these same women who contradict their caution and go seeking men who will abuse them, are insecure, not friendly, and are untrustworthy men. In return, we see women going towards the very types of men they accuse of being oppressive to women. And ironically, these women are not choosing those men that do not fit those negative qualities until they have had one or two children by the toxic man. This is a delicate matter when critiquing women. it's certain to cause some backlash. I have to state a disclaimer because it's not fair to speak something so critical on the gender without sharing the positive or thorough nature of thought. First, women are oppressed and have been oppressed. Second, whatever women do and feel they need to do to defend themselves or empower themselves is their right, and they do not need me to state what their rights are. I support your rights in whatever you choose to do. Third, I have the right to speak of experiences and perspectives, and sometimes my views may be controversial, but I believe in equality and I hope women achieve it, and I support them in that. Now, to return to my points. In movies, we see women now beating up men. And the audience applauds this, and it gives pride to women to see some of that. You probably can guess what I'm going to say. You don't see men in movies being the hero beating up a multitude of women and then people applauding that. For almost every male superhero movie, there is now a female version of a woman playing that same role. Hulk, She-Hulk. Batman, Batgirl. Superman, Wonder Woman. This is a business in storytelling. I wish there would be more original stories for the heroines, and there are, but that's not the point. The point is, if women slap a man, it's okay in movies. Oftentimes, that plays out in society, and women think that slapping a man is okay in the world, in private or in public. It ain't. Don't ever put your hands on me. I will never put my hands on you. But oftentimes in movies, the women are not beaten up. I want to make a point here. The point is, it's okay for women to slap men in movies. That's what's being shown. And oftentimes in these movies, the women are not beating up the most attractive man, but they are beating up men that society has already put a stereotype on in some form or fashion of being weak in some physical way, which this goes again back to the idea of retaliating against men, but perhaps excusing the very men that in society often would not be the man that is a threat to the woman. Goes back to when I was saying how some of these women are attracted to the chauvinistic man. They're attracted to the bad boy. They're attracted to the man who's going to treat them the worst. And then in the movies where the woman's the hero, she's beating up the man who somehow is somewhat weak, or he's something's different about him, or he's ugly, or he's short, or he's overweight or something. But something about those men aren't the men who are attracting the most women. So she's actually beating up the men who probably would be her best companion, because he's not her enemy. He's not the one doing that stuff to her. But, so I'm saying that the women seem to express their hurt often from the man that they find, from the man that they found, women in society. Let's use this as an example. The most attractive men get the most women. And so, if women are claiming these problems from men, it's probably from those guys who, who are considered and have more relationships with women. And they can cheat easier. They can talk certain ways. Their ego is of a certain bravado. And so, but in the movies, they don't display this. The women seem to express but in reality, the women seem to express their hurt often from the man they found the most attractive that they loved. Yet somehow, in movies, it is the man that is considered the least attractive that they are seen beating up, and the man that is the most attractive that she seeks the affection from. However, back to the other point of women seeing men as the enemy and the double standard. If women beat up men, then that is seen as taking down the enemy, the power structure that is oppressive and evil, and that is accepted. The point is, are we going to call right, and wrong, or ignore it? It can't be okay on TV for women to beat up men if men cannot be applauded for beating up women. I ain't going to waste too much breath or even on that because it ain't too much to even keep going further in that. I'm just making a point. But, I'm not really like deep on, trying to change that or, make that an issue. But anyway, let me reiterate and 1,000 times, I don't wish to see women hit by men in movies. Please keep the context of what I'm trying to say here, man. Men are practically the cause of the vast majority of violence against women and men. And men are also probably the cause of the majority of societal problems for women, which logically would make you think men consider women enemies. However, this is the weird thing. Men do those things against women, but don't do them in our minds in retaliation to women as a gender. On another end, I speak as that I am, and that is an African American man whose history in the U.S. has shown us to not have financial power or cultural power over women. And in many cases, our African American women make more than the African American man and have more cultural power in single parent family households. So the oppressive side of men is not something as an African American man I've seen many African American men practice on women or have the power to practice. This doesn't mean certain African American men have not tried or attempted to do crimes against women. We have a lot of things we do wrong. It's just that when women were marching in the 1960s and the 1970s about men withholding jobs and oppressing women, it wasn't African American men that they were marching against. Anyway, it's not the point of direction I wanted to go in either. The point I was making was about equality in heterosexual relationships. Now, don't say heterosexual to be offensive. It's just that I am not homosexual, and I cannot speak for their concerns or perspectives. I can speak for equality in all relationships. I'm trying to speak of things that are confusing for men today, as old rules are being broken but not replaced. You can't say that a woman does not need to work anymore and also not replace it with a man also does not need to go to work in a relationship. Hey, someone needs to work. You get what I'm saying? You can't say that a woman doesn't need to work anymore and a man doesn't need to work anymore. That's the new day we're living in. You got to replace it with something. So some old rules are being broken, and they should be broken because they were not fair. But there needs to be a replacement. We're in a day where men don't know our rules sometimes, and some of our sincere behaviors are now being misunderstood or distorted. If I open a door for you, that is not a gesture by me to signify your inferiority. At least I don't think so. Or at least it's not my conscious thought of me doing that for that purpose. Workplace etiquette. How does a man know when to approach a woman? There's some men that do not attract a woman's attention, and if they did not take initiative to inform the woman that they are interested in her, then they would be single for life. And this is as fair and honest as a man can be. A lot of men are not scared to talk to a woman, but we are terrified now of the repercussions of attempting to talk to a woman in the corporate world or work office. Of course, if you are among the 10% of men, if you're among that 10% of men, who women give you strong signals, then you don't need this. But as for the other 90% of us that depend on our social abilities to attract women's attention, then this can be helpful. In a day where you can be fired for asking for a co-worker's number, So while this is happening, this is also happening. Some women caress you on your arm while you're at work as they ask you to work part of their shift. Or they need time off and they want you to tell the manager that you'll pick up her extra day so she can get time off. Or the taboo stereotypical thing I'm not allowed to say, but fuck it, it's real. Some clothes are styled with the purpose to attract a man's attention sexually. And I'm specifically speaking about those clothes that are being worn and were created with the intent to help a woman seduce a man or seduce someone with her physical assets. So if someone tries to respond respectfully in a way to let you know he's interested, but is fired for that, then these are circumstances that are confusing for men. This isn't being said as if men have a serious problem with, as much as it is to respond to some women that talk about guys not talking to them at work and how no man at work wants to go out with her. This is the reason why some men ain't approaching no more. By the way, I didn't get fired or any of that stuff for trying to holler at women at work. This leads me to another point that, all men in the office have experienced, staying in the office. I'm talking about the thousands of times a woman thinks that you like her and thinks you are flirting with her when truly you're only being nice to her in the same way that you would with another man or a friend or family. Some women think every man is coming on to them, when sometimes we truly are not. This is something I'm sure almost all men have experienced. A woman that thinks you like her romantically when we don't. True, we want to fuck. But that doesn't mean we're trying to with every act we do. Some women think everyone is flirting with them. And the more she considers you not on her level, the more she thinks you are flirting with her and not in her league. Ironically, the more attractive a man is, and the more she is attracted to him, the more she will be oblivious to his flirting. And she's going to deny, in her mind, if he likes her or not. Now, back to the men that she says are not in her league and they ain't on her level. These are terms I really don't like to hear. And I hear them from men and women. She's out of his league. He is not on the same level with her. What's being said here? What you saying? 99% of the time when this statement is made, it's referencing a woman being physically more attractive than a man. However, this is the hypocrisy. Women try to say there's more to them than their looks. Yet when a man does not match the physical looks of another woman, then women instantly attribute value to that woman's physical appearance that renders in their eyes her worth as a person being more valuable than the man. So if a man is caring, loyal, has more trade skills, and has a great personality, well-educated, humble, disciplined, dresses nice, courageous, loving, interesting, and is doing well financially, then none of that matters because she physically does not match him physically. She's out of his league. The overvaluing of women is deceptive. 1 second, we are not to value their beauty. But at almost every turn, they are telling us to respect their beauty as value over us to diminish our self-worth. She's out of my league. All right. And yet, we're supposed to, according to women's theory, not judge one another for body types. Too many times I see guys and women say she's out of his league. I'm here to go the opposite route and say he's out of her league. And I'm going to say this. What is she worth? What is she bringing? Let's look at it completely. Let's count her beauty and everything else. Who is she as a person in value? Now let's stack that up against that man. The contradiction, self-righteousness, and hypocrisy are worse than men's surface-level honesty about wanting a pretty woman. So what value should a man bring to a woman? What should a man share with a woman? This is the value that we should bring, that we do bring. More importantly, we should bring. Necesito mi agua porque Tango said. This is what a man should bring with a woman. First, love, kindness, truth, and respect. Second, there is no order to the rest, but they should share chemistry, spiritual connection, loyalty, no lies, commitment during tough times, complete conversation, good conversation, bad conversation, and conversations about ideas, shared ideas, deep conversation, humorous conversation, investment conversations, etc., business conversations. The ideal relationship should be built on the foundation of two people that like each other, personalities, and intangibles, so much so Now, let me say it like this: the ideal relationship should be built on should be built on the foundation. The ideal relationship should be built on the foundation of two people that like each other's personalities and intangibles so much that they mutually agree to want to commit to each other exclusively. A man should also offer to share money, entertainment, household work, sex, his presence, and his time. Probably leaving things off, but this is a good start, you know. So those are things I offer, and I want a woman to reciprocate. That's what all this long talk is really all about. I ain't receiving no pleasure from speaking about this. I'm sweating. And I wish it really wasn't me having to say this, because there ain't no reward in me saying this, and men, we do think about our rewards before we open up our mouth. And this is so much so not a reward that there's a chance some of these women hear this and they ain't going to want to talk to me because of this. Now, that's not really what I'm going after. But whatever. There's going to be a lot of women eager to cuss me out and speak out things against my physical appearance in some form and call me a male chauvinist and every other kind of sinning term they could think of. I don't give a fuck. I don't give two fucks. I'm a reject, so I ain't trying to be accepted. This is what I'm trying to say. Every woman has the right to be with whichever man that she finds attractive, physically, mentally, spiritually, or whatever trait or characteristic she wants. But there are some imbalances going on right now that are detrimental to how people are perceiving worth. The imbalance is some women are valuing their physical appearance as too high, and in that same breath are valuing some men's physical appearance and what we bring to the table as too low. Minus the makeup, the Spanx, the high heels, fake hair, and surgeries, let's be real. A lot of women we're calling sevens are threes. But now some of them are feeling they are fine as hell, and they're calling guys that were once considered decent lames. Many women are now thinking they're too good for this other man physically, when actually she needs a reality check. She bought all her looks. We're natural. So you go natural completely, and let's stack one up against the other if we're judging off of, physical beauty. We're going to say, almost all men are going to call a decent woman fine. And we're going to pump her head up because we want that ass. We're going to say she's a 10 or 9, but we all know the damn truth. We're lying. But she's believing the lie. So, I'm just saying, quit all that she's out of his league or he's not on her level. Men have value. And we are not below or beneath women. It's the exact reason many men are leaving the country or invest in women of other cultures that treasure that man's value. On to hypocrisies and international travel. Let's start with dating outside of one's culture or international travel for romance, not sex tourism. Basically, some men feel rejected or not appreciated or valued by women in their culture. Women have said these men are not in their league, and women have considered these men not on their level. So we men get the fuck out. When we leave, we experience other women nodding and giving looks of approval. Men find other women value us. Men find other women in other countries or other cultures, sometimes within our own country, value us more than women of our own culture. Ain't no reason to sell out. Ain't no reason to ever speak bad about your own women. I'm just making a point here. So, I'm saying, when men experience rejection, when men experience women of their own culture not wanting them. And then they experience women of other cultures giving nods of approval and look. And then when we see other women finding value in who we are as men, then men, we increase our gene pool. We increase our choices. That what am I trying to say? We're increasing our choices and experience to discover new relationships that give us the characteristics and qualities in a partner that we've been searching for. You see, outside of the U.S., the American man has a high value due to being known for treating women well, not being chauvinistic or as chauvinistic as the majority of men in other countries, and being secure financially, and being humorous and educated without having multiple wives, and taking care of our children financially if we're not there. More of us do that as American men. That's our reputation, than men in other countries do that for their women. These are qualities that surprisingly some women find attractive. The American man is one of the most sought after men of high value in the world. However, the same is not said of that American woman. She can't go easily from one nation to another and find men willing to endure some of the behaviors I've listed earlier that pertain to some American women. When she finds men around the world, they ain't open and don't tolerate or respect her rights as a woman. There are some men, but there are not many men as a nation. But there are not many men as a nation that are known to be equal in the respect values that American men share with women. Outside of this, many American women soon learn that the rest of the world does not consider American women as physically attractive as she thinks she is. However, many women outside of America do consider American men more attractive than he was told in his country. So many women will say men marry outside of their culture due to being tricked by other women that only want that man for his money. Well, that's true many times. But it's also true that the majority of women in the United States also want men for their money. And it's also true that some women outside of America's culture highly value and appreciate the other qualities besides money that American men often possess. And that's our reputation. Again, as an African American man, I wanted only to marry another African American woman. I ain't married yet. The African American woman is a beautiful woman, and she was the top of my list, and I had no interest in any woman of any other culture, and my eye was not attracted to any other woman. However, experiences did influence me to open and increase my options. Now, on to the hypocrisies. And there are many. First, I have to set a claim as a precedent to which I'm basing this argument on. My argument is that women are more self-righteous and hypocritical than men. Men will immediately admit that a woman's physical beauty is very important to us. Okay? That means we're superficial. Yeah. No one is saying that we aren't. No one is saying that that's justified either. We're just honest in letting that be known. The hypocrisy and self-righteousness come to play when a woman pretends like looks do not matter so much to her, when in fact they do. It just depends on what type of look you're talking about. Men want cuteness in the face as a general preference and an average body, and we want an average body type. Women can substitute cuteness in the face for height or an athletic body tone or a menacing look in a man that she wants. Women say men are attracted only to the physical sometimes, right? Well, men are honest and constantly admitting the power of physical sexual attraction. However, it is always the chemistry of the minds that keeps a man to one woman. If she is not connecting with his thoughts and socializing with him, then her body will not be enough to keep him exclusively. Now on to the hypocritical. Women say they want a good man with a job that knows how to treat a woman. However, we see women with doctorate degrees dating ex-cons. We see women choosing to have their first child or multiple children with well-known assholes or losers before then coming to the so-called good man that she had rejected for years and that she thinks and expects him to take her. And then she says there are no good men. This ain't no stereotype or myth. Ask men if they feel this is true. We see in the past women would say looks were not so important. However, when women are alone or certainly on that damn internet, they're going to admit their desire for that 6-foot man. When tests by ABC's 2020 were conducted, it showed 20 women would take a 6-foot man with no job out of prison with children before accepting a man below 5'4" who had a law and a doctorate degree without children, whom previously, by headshots alone, they thought was cute until they saw his height. Women shorter than the 5'4" man also felt the same to reject the 5'4" guy who was taller than her. Matter of fact, the women definitely did not want a short man. However, most women in general would adamantly deny this publicly. The self-righteous woman will use the natural evolution response of women seek men who are tall for protection. And that goes back to the caveman days when men had to fight beasts and protect women. Therefore, it's instinctual and natural for a woman to find a taller man attractive. And women can't be at fault. However, that argument doesn't hold any truth in facts. Men 10,000 years ago or more back to the caveman days never reached 6 feet, according to fossils and bone evidence. In the Middle Ages, or, for those who don't know what that is, in the 19th century, 1900s, in Europe, and in the 1600s and 1700s, men were on an average height of 5'5" or 5'2", depending on which continent you were in. In the 1960s in the United States, the average male height was 5'7". The deviation, it wasn't as drastic as it is today either. So this argument that men were taller is a myth. Men were much shorter. This new preference for height by women is not new, and it's not as natural as much as it is evidence of the preference for height is reaching new heights as an effect of brainwashing via Hollywood. You always see the tall man in Hollywood. All the movies, almost all the movies, superheroes. But, who's writing those movies? So in that aspect, we are to blame. Height has always been important to women, but the significance and value after the 1970s increased exponentially to exaggerated extremes. Height was once as important to women as other qualities of a man, but now height has taken dominance in preferences that an American woman wants in a man. However, women will find many excuses to deny this, and women will retaliate against those who accuse them of this prejudice or preference. And women will state that any man that acknowledges this truth as applying to women is somehow an indictment on his own insecurity and feeling of inferior self-worth and must have little man's complex, Napoleon syndrome, or must be short. Let's have definitions here. The average height of an American man is 5'9", with a deviation range of normality of 3 inches. So that means if you're 5'6", you're considered a normal height. If you're 6'1", you're considered a normal height. Therefore, 6 feet and above, let's just say it's tall. Even though 6 feet, I know what I just said, but you know what I'm saying. I'm stating that women find attractively tall to be a man who is 6 foot all the way up to 6'6". Anything above that, and they might accept you, but you are venturing away from their immediate attraction and you're entering a different territory. So I'm speaking of what women consider acceptably tall as attractive. A beautiful, very attractive woman will take a somewhat tall man over a cute, very short, below 5'4" man. Unless you're Janet Jackson with Jermaine Dupri love you, Janet, and respect to Mr. Dupree. You will see a Beyonce with the Jay-Z far more often than you'll see Olivia Rodriguez with Elijah Wood, that guy from Lord of the Rings. That's who I'm talking about, Frodo. Uniquely, I've seen bisexual women pick some physically unattractive women, but I don't think that's the same, although it is peculiar, but I said I wasn't going to talk on that. I'm on heterosexual relationships. So I'm talking about women claiming physical appearance is not important to them. The stigma of men being influenced by physical appearance is supposed to belong to men and put women on a higher ground of how they judge others. But the truth is, women are displaying hypocrisy and self-righteousness in their denial that they have strong physical preferences and use those preferences to be prejudicial against other men. How many men under 5'9" have heard a woman accuse you of having Napoleon syndrome? Actually, Napoleon he wasn't really short. He was an inch taller than the average French man of his day. But don't let the truth get in the way. How many times in fairy tales is the prince handsome and tall, and the enemy is somehow ugly or short or fat or has some scar or physical defect? How many romance novels, love stories, music videos do you see the less attractive male always playing sidekick or inferior to the more attractive man in stories by women? When was the last time an attractive man in a movie sought to win the heart of an unattractive woman? When was the last time an unattractive man sought the heart of a physically unattractive woman, and yet this was just a natural concept or natural coincidence in the movie and not a major theme of the story? When have either of these situations occurred in the movie when that anomaly or abnormality, that's weird to say back to back, anomaly or let me say all that again. When have either of these situations occurred in the movie when that anomaly or abnormality wasn't the central theme of the movie to exploit the unlikelihood of that being real? Name the last 3 movies, books, or songs where a woman is singing or falling in love with a very, very short man that is written by a woman, and the concept isn't about how he looks at all. I ain't here to demonize. I'm just flipping the script, double standard. I'm saying as someone under 6 feet, to women, it's okay to have your preferences. It's okay is what I'm saying. As a man, I totally understand it. I'm just saying it's getting a little bit out of hand, your preferences. Let's bring it down. I'm also saying, stop the soapbox self-righteousness of acting like you don't judge men physically and that men are the only ones influenced by perceived conceptions of beauty. Which brings me to something many people don't know the term of, but we need to talk about this. Lookism. Look it up. Lookism is the word. This is the discrimination those of us rejects experience that the normal looking do not escape from. However, they also are not damned by almost every person they encounter at all times of every day. By this I mean everyone living is going to be called something derogatory or be insulted at some point in his or her life. The difference is when it happens to this person every day, almost immediately, by almost everyone that talks to that person or sees them. It's like the opposite of what, you imagine is the beauty syndrome, where someone extremely beautiful thinks everyone is treated as kindly as they are treated. In this case, everyone that does not meet the average appearance, in this case, it's the opposite of how we perceive people with the beauty syndrome. In this case, what I'm trying to say is that everyone that does not meet the average appearance is considered physically unacceptable. What I'm trying to say is people who are ugly experience something daily that the rest of other people who are not considered unattractive, they don't experience that daily. So I'm here for the rejects. Regardless of motive, women are much meaner to men that they're not attracted to than men are to women that we are not attracted to. Depending on the setting and depending on how a man approaches them, before the man even talks, women will refuse to acknowledge or talk to you if they are not attracted to you. It's the example I'm going to give. They're in a cafeteria eating with their girlfriends and you approach them to talk and you're not unattractive to them, then you will most likely receive a very embarrassing rejection where they immediately inform you they are not interested or they tease you for having the audacity to speak to them. Let's assume this same ugly man somehow is in a restaurant and he has a woman as a waitress that does not, and this woman doesn't want to talk to this man. That man can ask that waitress for a glass of water, and that waitress will likely give that man a very mean face before she takes his order. And that mean face will say, "Fuck you, don't try to talk to me, I don't like you." Now that that is established, I'll go get your ass some water. But first, once again, fuck you, don't try to talk to me, I don't like you. Now that that has been established, I'll take your order for what you want to eat. That is the type of reaction rejects or ugly men are capable of receiving from some women that they think are too good for some that they think are too good for some men. Oftentimes women use the excuse, it's because so many men try to holler at us that are rude, and this forces us to react in that way to stop all that before it even gets started. Now let's reverse that. If a woman, not reverse it, but put it in another situation where if a woman, ugly woman, approached a man at a table and she tried to holler and say something to him, most men ain't gonna do that to an ugly woman. We're gonna go ahead and, humor her in the sense that we respect that. And we might not be her boyfriend, we might not be her husband in the future, but we'll talk to her. Now, women say they're not attracted to men with money. What woman says that? But, women say they are not attracted to men with money. I want to say that part is more true than the lie that women use when they say the way a man looks is not so important to them. Women will not usually ask how much you make or be concerned about your money until after they have an attraction to you. If you haven't passed their immediate attraction test, then they don't care about how much money you make. They don't care about how smart you are, or how talented you are, how good a conversationalist you may be, how much you believe in God, how brave you are, how athletic you are, how caring you are, or how much chemistry they actually might share with you on genuine qualities until they physically accept you. A woman will quickly say men think just because they have money that a woman is supposed to flock all over them. Any ugly man or man that is not physically accepted by women can tell you the majority of women will reject a man with money, unless she's a prostitute. Women will stick with a man they don't like, but is physically acceptable if he has money. But they will not gravitate to a man that is not physically unacceptable. They will not gravitate to a man that is physically unacceptable just because he has money. Nah. Unless he has a lot of money. And then that man has to buy women, and women typically still, they're not going to fake it. They're going to let them know, I'm only here for the money. So when women say money is not everything to them, then that part is true for ugly and the rejected men. That's true. And for the men that try to use their money to attract women who are ugly and those men who are rejected, that part is true. Money isn't everything for those women. However, the other side is that women will reject a man and never give him the opportunity to talk to her if he does not meet what she considers acceptable physically. In that sense, women can be more superficial than men and hide behind self-righteousness, saying money is not important and that they want a quality man. No. They want a man that is very attractive first, with money. Second, they want a very attractive man even if he doesn't have money. Third, they want a man that is at least reasonably attractive or at least acceptable physically with money and a great personality. In that order. In this new day, I invite women to start a new trend. Ladies, you can initiate conversations with men. You can make things easier on a date by attempting to agree or be sociable more so than being cold and critical. The old saying for men is to make her chase you. Well, Society has made that a little bit more difficult now that everyone has a car. Neighbors don't speak, and people go to work 8 or 10 hours a day in an isolated society. 8 of our hours are at work. 3 of our hours each day are dedicated to getting ready for work and getting to work and going home. Then you have 8 hours to sleep, 2 hours to shit and eat, and 3 hours, if you're lucky, to either watch TV, make a phone call, take a nap, run an errand, or exercise or something like that. So basically, you have 3 hours, maybe 3 hours, if you're lucky, 3 hours of each day that are yours. That's the time you have to slip in a relationship. That's the reason why we turn to the easiest form of being able to meet someone, because we have few alternatives in this society, in this busy society, I don't think I'm exaggerating if I said 60% of relationships were first formed by the two meeting on the internet now. I think we're in a new day of instant gratification and constant stimulation that I said earlier. We're in the ADD age, attention deficit disorder. To be blunt, there's too many choices for women due to the internet date. Let me say it like this. To be blunt, there's too many choices for women due to internet dating, and men have become like TV channels for women's entertainment, as I stated earlier. Women are now numb to the average man's advances, and women have moved further away from contributing to a substance-based social relationship. I can only see fewer authentic traditional relationships being built in marriage and love. I could see the traditional, conventional relationships that we used to know being substituted for relationships that satisfy immediate, temporary lusts, material desires, and the various needs to satisfy the selfish, self-centered ego. We're going to soon see individuals engage in multiple relationships with various partners in their adult life. Marriage and nuclear families, they're going to be a thing of the past, if not already so, as people are going to substitute that for occasional engagements and agreements at best. I know I'm repeating this, but these are things men do and bring to a relationship to show we care. We buy women things we hope they will like. We think of places to take her. We may even write notes on questions to ask a girl so that we can maintain engaging conversation. We research the girl and we take initiative to conquer our nerves and to introduce ourselves. And boy, do our nerves get bad, unless we're not completely attracted to a woman. So a woman, you actually might want a man who's nervous. That's showing that he's super attracted to you. The man who's too cool and too relaxed probably has so many women that, you're just another number to him. And so he doesn't have any pressure or feel any, thing different. But anyway, we research the girl and we talk to, initiate, we take initiative to conquer our nerves and to introduce ourselves. We ask for your number. We make plans and dates, and we give your gifts, and we buy a house, a car. We want to go on vacations. We want to pay. We pay for your children's education, college. We help your family out, your brother, your uncle, your father, your mother, and we give you some extra spending money sometime, and then. And then someday we wake up to ask, where's the reciprocation? Sex? She thinks sex is the currency that balances it out? Where are her jokes? Where is her conversation and interest and her thoughts that are her attempts to connect with you? Where was her effort? Effort. That's what we think about when, we get quiet and we're in the bed just in the dark. Effort. That's what we want. Listen to that part again. Effort. That's what we want. When does a woman give the best she has to offer in love to another person? She gives her best love and effort and energy to her children. The same efforts and attention you give to your children is what a man wants. A man is to put God first, if he believes in God, and his wife second, and family third. So on earth, A woman is the first person to receive all a man has to give. That is to be reciprocated. If a man is your husband and a father to those children, and he is a good man that has shown he truly loves you first, then he should be before your children if you truly love him. However, you treat and honor your children more than you do him. So, however you treat and honor your children, he should be revered more. And again, he should do the same for you. We don't want to compete. We don't want to be brought down or told what we're doing wrong at every chance you get. We don't want to compete with you. Sorry, ladies. For all of those that make more than us, for all the women that make more than us or feel we should be driving and pushing each other to achieve goals all the time. No. Men do not want to compete with our wives. We are on the same team. We don't want to have you telling us I need to make more money, or how I should want more or better. We don't want criticism that comes with you bringing us down. That's not mutual, enjoyable conversation. We want a friend, a companion, and someone that seeks to lift us up socially and spiritually. That's what men want, along with a fat ass and a cute face. What? I'm still a man, baby. All right, I'm going to read this next part real quick. So, get with it. Here's some random things that express a woman's psychology, or you can view this as things women do that piss men off. A woman will lie and say she has a headache just to not have sex with you. She'll do that to you, not me. Looking for small things to get, a woman's going to look for small things to get mad about during times when you are trying to enjoy one another. Don't get me started on, complaining about body aches or deciding where to eat and constantly changing where to eat at the last second while you're in the car. Or when you finally decide where to eat, somehow the food doesn't taste good after she orders it. Or somehow she's upset at the waitress, at something the waitress said, or how the waitress looked at her. Or she's upset about her nails or her hair, or her knee, her shoes, her tooth, the weather, or something that is always wrong. There's a never-ending list of small complaints that she has that happen every day with her that she claims ruined her day and somehow are of the utmost importance. As if it wasn't for these things, I would be normal. Well, damn it, you ain't. These things always damn happen. This is her idea of conversation, too. Like, this is taking up a lot of the conversation every day with her. So let me move on to more complex examples men experience with women. A woman will know you are out with your friends that you see twice a year, and she will be jealous. And she will make up some circumstance to make you come home. The dog is choking. She got in a car accident. The power went off, and she's scared. All of these will be lies you can't prove. And they will all be situations that force you to leave your friends and go home. She will then even make up lies to leave events she's at with you, but she either no longer enjoys or never wanted to go to in the first place. Like it's your mother's birthday. All of a sudden at the party, she has a migraine. These are things women do to either get your attention because they're jealous of someone, or because socially they feel insecure and hate not feeling comfortable and need to create a way to get out of the situation, or because they're doing something you want to do and not what they want to do. Women absolutely hate to hear things about themselves because it sounds so much more horrible to them. Women absolutely hate to hear these things about themselves because it sounds so much more horrible to them to have to hear it than it does to them when they're doing it. Consider how we as men feel recognizing all this. and yet having to act like we don't hate that behavior because we accept you. I don't want to write or say this next thing. I really don't, because it's kind of drawn out, but many men experience this to the point of divorce. So I have to include it and sketch it out this way, okay? Here's one scenario. Women will say, I want marriage. You say, okay. Women will say, I want kids. You say, okay. Now you got to go to work and work longer hours to support the family. You have to fix more things and run more errands. You're tired. Your wife, you have to find things to do to nurture your children and expose them to a healthy lifestyle. Your wife tells her girlfriend that your romance is gone and you don't give her enough attention. Her girlfriend responds saying that she deserves better. Your wife begins to grow curious and smile when men flirt with her. You try going to the gym just to relieve some stress and stay in shape and keep your sanity. She yells at you for not being at home and doing the things she wants. She decides to go for that coffee with her male co-worker that invited her the other day. She lets things with him go a little bit too far. She didn't cheat though, but she enjoys the attention he gave her and feeling special again. You discover what happened and you confront her about it. She reverses the blame on you to make it seem like it's your fault for not being available to her anymore. She wants a divorce. The judge gives her half your money. Here's other things women will do that men would never do to them. Women will find a man to fight her battles for her. Women will tell their mothers everything. Women will tell their mothers everything. A woman will rearrange your living room or the things in your kitchen cabinet, and she may even clean your room. Now, you might think this is because she is showing she cares. Not exactly. She's investigating, man. She's searching your entire house for clues about who you are or if you're cheating and anything that she can pick up to know more about you. She knows she can't walk in your house and just start opening up drawers and going through your phone. So this is how she does it. Okay. A man really likes lasagna. The woman knows this. He orders lasagna and they put it in a styrofoam paper plate. He eats it at home and puts it in the refrigerator. She tells him about the dangers of styrofoam being unhealthy. He lets her know that he already knows that stuff. Later that night, he expresses how he can't wait to have some more of that good lasagna tomorrow, and boy, it was good. The next day comes and he opens his refrigerator and the lasagna is gone. She threw it away. She says she cleaned the refrigerator. Now, why would she do this? She knew you wanted that lasagna, and she purposefully threw it in the garbage. She wants to see how you will react. Some women come from abusive relationships, and they want to check to see if you will hit them. Their logic is to set you up in a situation to make you angry in order to see if you will hit them, which takes me to my next point. Women will purposefully try to get a man upset in order to see how he responds when upset. Her logic is to see how he will defend himself against her, to know how he will defend her against others. This includes creating illogical arguments with the intent on taking any side against him just to challenge him. It doesn't matter which side you take. It will be the wrong side, man. She's going to take the other side. The logic of a woman is to want to see how much you love her by doing things to push you away. That's detrimental to chemistry and very arrogant and self-righteous. But they do it. Women will argue with you for the purpose to see how much you love them. They are not arguing with you based on the issue at hand, and often you will find they are not arguing in context to whatever your argument is about. They are not arguing to search for what is right or to reach a conclusion or a truth. Their purpose in the argument is totally different. She is arguing because she feels like arguing, and she wants to see you argue. A woman invests more in challenging a man and doing things like this to make him irritated than she does invest in doing things to make him happy or bring pleasure. A woman will give a man no-win situations. Don't open doors for me, she says. Then she says, you never show me any chivalry or consideration like open a door for me. Women don't say chivalry. But anyway. A woman will say, I think he's gay because he never talks to me. You talk to her. He's trying to talk to me, girl. I can't believe he thinks he's on my level. He's lame. I am way out of his league. A woman will have 1 or 2 kids by well-known assholes, toxic men, then say they're no good men when trying to get a good man with no kids that rejects her. You ask a woman if she wants you to bring her some chicken because you're at a fried chicken place. She says yeah. You bring it to her and she says, I don't like fried chicken. It's unhealthy for you. Now here's the self-righteous part. You tell her about the fried onion rings she loves and chocolate marshmallows and popcorn she likes being unhealthy, and she laughs. The point is, just say you don't like fried chicken. To add a morality to it shows, you want to add that you're doing something that I shouldn't be doing and that you are better for not doing it. Okay. Now the other part that is aside from the point is you should have told me that shit when I asked you if you wanted to bring some damn chicken from the fried chicken place. You knew you ain't like fried chicken the second I asked you, but you wanted to see if I would pay for it for you and bring it to you. You do all that and then test someone further by telling them you don't like it and it's unhealthy for me to eat when I was doing you a favor. You don't even say thank you. This is all kinds of fucked up, so much so that it's even hard to describe or put into the form of an example. That's the kind of shit that men only allow women to get away with, and women think it's perfectly natural when that is stingy, psychotic, manipulative, evil behavior. It's also pathetic. Let a man try some shit like that with one of his other male friends and see the truth of how he reacts. We already know. Let a woman do that to another woman. Women say a man should figure out what a woman wants. A man should figure out what a woman likes sexually. A man should figure out what makes a woman come. No, we shouldn't. A woman should know what makes her have an orgasm. If you want something, then ask for it. A man should at some point in the relationship ask about what she likes sexually. On to the next one. Women think like, I don't want him to get used to having so much sex with me. He'll expect it all the time. I need to gauge this pussy out so when he gets it, he appreciates it more. Then when a man has sex with someone else, that same woman is mad because he wouldn't play into her game of manipulation and abuse and torture. She's mad because he wouldn't and couldn't wait for when she decided they could have sex, and when she knew she didn't know when the next time they would even have sex would be. So if she doesn't know and he doesn't know, go figure. Some married men go months without sex. She wanted him to wait and suffer, and that would appease her to control his urges. She gets off on that. If men treated women the way that women treat men, then women wouldn't be able to tolerate the fair treatment. I mean, if men treated women fairly the way we treat other men, then women wouldn't be able to tolerate it. Women have grown accustomed to men treating women favorably and ignoring women's bad characteristics. Here are the characteristics that are bad. A bad attitude that acts immaturely and has poor social skills while being self-absorbed. Whining, spoiled, asking for material things all the time, and being argumentative. These are things that women have as bad characteristics, and these types of women practice. If men treated women the way humans should treat another, when that person displays those types of behavior, then maybe women would change. Women, on the other hand, treat men worse or the same as they treat other women, and they expect or feel entitled to be treated nicely or favorably by men. Some women follow Marilyn Monroe's logic. If he can't accept her at her worst, then a man, sure as hell doesn't deserve her best. Some women believe this bullshit and believe a man should want her and accept her at her worst, and that he should prove himself to her, and that he wants her at all costs for better or worse. And she entertains herself by sometimes presenting the worst for her own entertainment that leads to her own detriment in the relationship. You can't give someone your worst and expect their best. First, show me your best, and then I'll consider You deserve me to stick around at your worst. You can't give someone your worst and expect their best. You're assertive at a restaurant and you ask for a seat and ask how long the waiting list is. You order food and so on. Your date says you act like you are demanding. Like you're some rich guy that has no patience and expects to get what he wants immediately. You need to relax. Same woman. You go to a restaurant and you wait to be seated or for someone to speak to you. You wait for the waitress to deliver the food. The waitress makes a mistake and you let it go and feel embarrassed for her. The woman says, "You're too nice and a pushover. Why don't you act like a man?" A woman is like this. "He needs to call me more." The guy calls. The woman tells herself, "I'm not going to pick up. If he really loves me, he'll call me again." The guy texts. She ignores the text. The guy calls later again. She picks up. The next week, the guy calls twice in one day. She tells herself now, "He calls too much." The guy stops calling. The girl gets mad at the guy and wonders why he stopped calling. It must be a sign that he never loved me at all. So those are examples of the psychosis of women. Psychosis? Sometimes I just say stuff and say words that sound like they make sense. I don't know. As a human, we want to put ourselves into someone else. We want to be understood. We want to invest in a relationship so that someone else can tell us how we are seen, compliment us, give us self-esteem, criticize us, understand us, and be another part of us, married to us, committed to us, another version of us. This is who and what children are supposed to be for us. This is who a spouse serves to be and who we are to them. At some point, you have to sacrifice and offer yourself to find someone true. Investing in someone to love is a sacrifice. It is a gamble with consequences and fear, happiness, shame, hurt, joy, and vulnerability at stake. Investing in someone for the sake of love is a sacrifice. Investing in someone for the sake of love is investing in us. But it must be mutual to get the best out of love. Both should seek to lift the other up. It can't be one person doing more than another while the other is satisfied with not doing enough. I'd like to end this as I started. For those women still watching, please note the points made in this video are not made for women to agree with. You will be disturbed by some of the things I've said. Or you have been, I know. Or maybe you should be. But if you think that I am wrong on how men are perceiving our relations with women, then please let your man watch this and ask him honestly if he feels that he can relate to the points that I'm making. Ask him if he has experienced the issues that I'm speaking about. I know this is a long video, but I had to talk about everything. The point is that there is an issue that is affecting behavior that needs to be addressed. I am addressing it. This is addressing a certain type of woman that has been influencing the behavior of other women to ignite a trend. This is not speaking of the good women that are independent, mature, selfless, and educated. Last but not least, who am I to tell women what to do? I do not speak for you. I am not trying to speak for you or really to you. All I'm doing is voicing some of the perspectives men have of your behaviors that we feel negatively affect our relationships with you socially.